I'm seeing that we're getting a sound return, and the eyeball is up.
We are.
So the other thing,
right?
Yeah, I mean, another thing that I'm going to do too, and I haven't done it for a while, but I'm going to do it now.
Let's do it, whatever it is.
I'm going to do that overlay. Let's see if I can get that to come up.
Are you going to jazz up our
I'm
show?
going to try to jazz it up. I'm trying.
Right.
And now, of course, oh, there it is. Okay, that's that one. Now let's see if I can do this other one. See, I had this all set up today, and then I started doing work to like make money.
Why would you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you gotta like pay the bills, so there's always that going on. But I heard you.
We're good.
I heard us.
Yes, we're good.
All right. So this is the Cast at Glocker. We're on Wednesdays at 6:00. Thanks for tuning in. It looks like we're starting to get a couple of watchers coming in. We're streaming live to Glocker Realty on Facebook. We're streaming live to the Carl Spaatz USAAF
Air Force Museum, right?
Right.
It's the General Carl Spaatz National U.S. Army Air Force Museum, and we can say that because we're the only museum in the United States dedicated to Carl Spaatz. So we get to do it national.
There you go.
Wow.
Now, there's no other museum in the world, so we could say international.
International?
That's making it a little bit too long. Right?
Intergalactic?
Intergalactic, yeah, that's right.
I don't think there's any in space either, right?
No. So I'll take down the overlay. But we are live on the Carl Spaatz Facebook page as well.
We are, yes, absolutely.
And we're
General
live.
Carl Spaatz.
We're live on Glocker Realty and Insurance on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I did some work.
3 locations.
I did some work on the YouTube channel lately.
You have?
I've updated some of the property videos.
Okay.
So in addition to seeing episodes of the Cast at Glocker on YouTube at Glocker Realty Insurance, you can also see those property highlight videos that we're doing.
Yeah, and they're really cool to watch.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm blowing our own horn.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're doing great work. And that drone, if you're into air stuff, like most of the people that are probably watching this thing,
Yeah.
the drone footage from the air on some of these properties, it's good.
Really cool, yeah.
You're going to
new perspective.
A whole new perspective.
Yeah.
And our drone pilot, the guy that does it, is a retired commercial pilot.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
It is good stuff.
Yeah.
But before we get too carried away, we are here at the museum, the Colonel Spaatz. No, excuse me. I downgraded him. General Spaatz Museum. And I have some captions that I'm going to put up on the screen so that I can remind us and everyone watching. I found your webpage was really easy to find, spaatzmuseum.org.
Right.
You couldn't have made it much easier for people.
That's pretty simple.
That was great.
Nothing hidden behind that one.
And so you can go there and learn more about the museum. And our guest today, I'm going to put him up, is Keith Seawell. Colonel.
Yes.
Keith Seawell. He's a retired United States Marine Corps colonel. I have his whole pedigree up here on the
You
screen.
do?
I do.
Right.
Colonel, USMC, retired.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. And thanks for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
That's our pleasure.
Luckily, I got a tour of the museum. You didn't get here quite in time for the tour, but I'm sure you can get one afterwards.
Yeah, I'm going to look around. I saw that Allison engine when I first came through.
It's a Victor 1710 Allison engine.
Okay.
And it used to be the engine that would power either a P-38 Lightning, which had 2 engines in it, was the 2-boom aircraft.
Okay, yeah.
Or the P-40 Warhawk, or the P-39 Air Cobra, which were both ground attack. Well, the P-39 is primarily a ground attack aircraft, and even the first version of the Mustang A and A version before they put the Rolls-Royce Merlin in. But that's a beautiful engine, as you can see, 1,710 cubic inch inches of
it's a
power.
big boy.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yep. You should have seen us try to get that thing in the door.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That
What's it weigh?
about 1,500 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's in its original packing.
Can you lift that, Matt?
No, not even in my
Get back in
prime.
the gym.
Not
Get
even
back
in my
gym.
prime. Not even close. A fraction of that.
Well, let's introduce our guest.
Yeah, sure.
Well, we did.
We did.
Yeah, but let's get to know a little bit about you before we get to know about the museum.
Okay.
So you're a retired colonel. Can you give us a little background?
Sure, retired colonel. My wife Wendy, 2 children, Sarah and Mike, and we live in Schwenksville right now. I spent 30 years in the Marine Corps. Started out in 1979 and retired in 2009. And I had the honor and privilege to command everything from an infantry platoon to an infantry regiment in those 30 years. So fortunately, I had a lot of great Marines working with me, and that made for that success. So that was a pretty interesting time. Really enjoyed a lot of it. That's where I got a chance to jump out of airplanes for a living. And thank you, American taxpayer, for paying me to have so much fun. Got to blow up a lot of things too, and see the world.
Yeah.
And after I got out of the Marine Corps, retired and moved the family, came up to Schwenksville to be closer to my mother and father in their later years, and started a job in a transition. Did that for a few months, and then went to Afghanistan for a few years, back and forth, as part of an Afghan-American corporation that needed some help getting off its feet.
Okay.
And finished that up. And really, it's interesting how I came to really be in this position, in that, like I might have mentioned earlier, I used to restore antique radios for a hobby. And living in Schwenksville, to get up to the twice-a-year Kutztown radio show, which is nationally known, and our radio club is involved in that, you have to go from Schwenksville 73 all the way up to Kutztown.
Okay.
And that takes you right through Boilertown.
Right through Boilertown, yeah.
Exactly. And I remember, when I'm driving through Boilertown, this was in 2015, I thought to myself, oh yeah, I know about this Boilertown, because one, I played against Boilertown in football when I played for Great Valley. But I also recall that when I was a kid, I read an Army Air Force book. I think might have been in 6th grade, and it mentioned Carl Spaatz, born and raised in Boilertown. Well, we lived right next to Great Valley High School, so I made that connection when I was a kid.
Right.
And then made it again when I'm driving up early one Saturday morning in 2015 on the way to Kutztown. And I thought, well, there has to be a museum for this guy, because he was just as much of a great general as Eisenhower or Marshall or any of the others that have their own museum. And I was driving around for a good 20 minutes and I couldn't find it. I found a wonderful memorial that the General Spaatz Memorial Association here in Boilertown.
The plaque?
Yeah, the plaque and the flagpole, which is great, but there was a museum. And that's where I first really came about thinking of developing a museum to try and rectify that, because I thought a lot of people don't know who he was or what he did. And the young people today don't understand the sacrifices of the American people during World War II, and especially in the small towns. And Carl Spaatz was definitely a small town kid that grew into great things. And that's what really was my motivation for starting the museum.
Yeah, well, you brought a great thing to Boilertown here.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't there's a connection? There's another connection with Carl Spaatz and locally out of Limerick Airport. Wasn't Limerick Airport in some way, shape, or used?
Right. Well,
used for the refueling?
I'm not sure about that, but I do know that Limerick Airport is where the Civil Air Patrol has their Carl Spaatz Squadron.
Okay.
That's where that's based out of.
And there's something to do with the Reading Airport too, isn't there?
Right. The Reading Airport is actually named General Carl Spaatz Airport.
Okay.
And there's a road there that has his name and things like that.
Maybe somebody who's watching, because remember, folks, the chat box is open. You can leave comments, questions. Mm-hmm. Just let us know you're watching. You want to say hoorah or whatever you want to say.
Throw a heart up there.
Throw a heart up there. Tell us what branch you served in. Whatever you want to do. Chat box is open. And maybe somebody can correct me, but for some reason, I thought that there might have been a tanker plane that took off from the Limerick Airport that refueled Spaatz while he was doing. Didn't he do the first?
No, that was actually out in California.
That was okay.
Actually, January 1st, 1929, over the Rose Bowl in California.
Okay.
This publicity stuff, because up until that time, the record for staying in the air with a large aircraft that was using the rudimentary refueling techniques was about 45 hours. So in 1929, Spaatz and a couple other guys who had become very famous generals in their own right, a guy by the name of Pete Casada, the other one, Ira Eaker. Any World War II buff of Army Air Corps is going to know those two names. But he put together this team, and they wanted to go and see if their proof of concept test of refueling would work. So it was very unsure, and at least they had a pretty good sense of humor, because they named the one airplane that was going to receive the fuel the question mark. As a matter of fact, we have in our Spaatz career exhibit, we have a flying diorama of just that.
Okay.
So January 1st, 1929, as a working to try and get publicity and actually test the concept, they didn't just break the record; they shattered it. They kept that airplane up for over 150 hours.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's pretty amazing.
It's tripled the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And air refueling really made a difference to our nation, especially later on, not so much right then and during World War II, because we didn't use it much. But, Spaatz was well known for taking technology and innovation and leveraging it into sound operational and strategic tactics. And that's what we did with refueling, because, after World War II and then Korea, we started experimenting this, and the ability to refuel, whether it was a bomber or a fighter or anything like that, that meant that we could stay up in the air, running a racetrack. People come up to the tanker, get a drink, and they could stay on station. So they didn't have to go back to their base and get fuel again. This solved the problem that all the other air forces had, especially during World War II, where they could only keep their fighters over target, over Germany, or in the Germans' case, over Britain, for maybe 30 minutes. And the range was so long from England to Berlin and the other places that it wasn't until we got the P-51 and the drop tanks on the P-47s that we're able to maintain those long ranges. Well, if we would have had air refueling solved that problem.
Yeah.
And that gave us a tremendous capability to project our power towards our objectives in strategic defense all over the world. And Spaatz is really recognized by the U.S. Air Force as being the father of aerial refueling.
Wow. Yeah, that's huge. Absolutely. Can you give us a little, besides that piece of information, can you give us a little background on General Spaatz?
Sure. General Spaatz was born here in Boilertown in 1891. His father ran a newspaper in town. Matter of fact, he was born just up there this way. I'm pointing to North Reading Avenue.
Okay.
He was born in a house up on actually South Reading Avenue, and was raised on Philadelphia Avenue. But in any event, his dad was ran a newspaper called The Democrat, and he had sisters and I think sisters anyway, and grew up here. And around 1908, things really started to change for Carl Spaatz. As a matter of fact, we highlight this in the first exhibit, which is called the 1908 Boilertown Exhibit. On January 13th, 1908, something called the Opera Fire. I don't know if you ever heard about that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so it was the Opera House right down on Philadelphia Avenue. And at the time, the population of Boilertown was about 1,700 people. Well, 170 people perished in that fire. So that's taken a 10% casualty rate. Well, that's KIA.
It's devastating.
Right.
Yeah.
It was devastating to the town. But they were able to really come back from it. But the point is that Spaatz at the time, Carl Spaatz, was at the Pennsburg Seminary going through his preparatory classes to try and get into West Point. His dad was still running the newspaper, but he was also an actor for these shows that they would put up at the Opera House. Well, his own father was actually burned. Had second-degree burns over his arms, and some of the people who worked at the newspaper were in the fire too and didn't die, but they may have gotten injured. But anyway, it was devastating. Of course, he couldn't run the newspaper. So Charles called his son Carl back from the seminary to basically run the newspaper for him and take proactive action and try and get them through this tough spot. Right. So you have to think about it. He's only barely 17 years old. He's got his eye on going to West Point, and all of a sudden this devastating fire happens. So many people are killed or injured in the fire, including friends of his, I'm sure, and relatives. Yeah. His own father being burned. And he was yanked away from that comfort level and put into the position, okay, Carl, you got to run the newspaper.
Yeah.
And you also have to deal with all these other challenges, personal loss, community loss, focusing on an objective, and you had to come through with it, because if not, your family was going to get wiped out.
Right.
And this type of experience, I think, was really important to him. I had a really good psychology teacher in college who taught us that heredity deals the cards, but environment plays them. And that environment and those circumstances that occurred on that fateful day in 1908 really affected him and basically tested him on his ability to do those things. And all those lessons and the experiences that he learned out of that, I think, served him very well when he became in command of all the American Air Forces in Europe and later the Pacific, because the challenges were pretty much the same thing, right? Suffering, lots of casualties, because his own friends were getting killed in the war. I mean, nobody was immune to this stuff. So he had friends who was getting killed. He had to relieve some friends. He had to make command decisions. He had to make a decision on how he was going to prosecute the war and what the strategic objective was, in spite of everybody telling him, no, you're wrong, you can't do that, or it won't work. But he kept his eye on the ball, and his push to do what he did was actually what helped destroy the German war machine. And I don't think without that experience he had as a young 16-year-old, he would have been the same person being able to do the same thing.
Sure,
so
yeah.
Right.
I think it really had an effect, a positive effect on him, as much as it could.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of young man he was. I think another real interesting thing to talk about in terms of Spaatz and the physical and moral courage that he had was during that refueling proof concept test I was mentioning. You had the airplane down here, which was the aircraft receiving the gasoline. And then, of course, just like today, you had the tanker that was refueling. Well, there was obviously a hose, big rubber hose with a valve on the end of it. And the person in the receiving aircraft had to grab that hose, bring it into the aircraft, turn the valve on, turn the valve off in the tanks. And Spaatz took his turn, doing that same thing too. So at one point, he's putting gasoline into his own aircraft, into the tank, and the two aircraft hit a pocket. They separate. The gas hose pulls out of his hand, and he couldn't grab it back, and they come back together. He grabs the hose, but he did not have the opportunity to turn the gasoline valve off. So he ends up getting absolutely soaked and drenched in high-octane aviation fuel.
Yeah.
Turns the valve off this time. And he's just drenched, and they all say to him, "Okay, boss, well, what do we do now?" Well, they had to immediately strip all of his clothes off. Naked.
That'll absorb through your skin.
It will. Your skin will start blistering right off. And they took oily rags, neutralized the oil, and then covered his body in that white cream. And they all looked at him and said, "Well, I guess that's it." And he said, "No, we're staying here." And so he put a parachute harness back on, with nothing else on. Parachute harness, goggles, smile. And that's how he made the rest of the trip until they could get a new uniform.
That's spectacular.
And that's in his own words.
That's awesome. That's a great story.
He flew the mission naked.
Yeah, he did.
That's awesome.
For a hard time, sure did. But it's cold up there, and you got to put that parachute harness on just right, or it's going to be a little challenging.
So tell us a little bit. So I think that's a lot of good information about the background of the person that the museum is named after. How do you get from concept to creation here for the museum? I mean, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of artifacts and
About 1,000, right? There's
stuff.
Right.
My words are failing me a little bit.
I called it stuff earlier. Too.
Yeah.
Well, I think the real key was the community of Boilertown, who approved, or at least I was able to convince them of the positive idea, because you can't do something like this yourself. I mean, you have to have support from your own family, who doesn't see you for hours on end.
Yeah,
over,
sure.
2 or 3 years. You have to have support from the mayor's office, and Mary Ann Deary was a great supporter of ours. You had to have a mentor who can show you around, which
it's not like you've ever run a museum before, right?
Right.
You weren't doing that in the Marine Corps, were you?
No. I ran a regiment, which is a pretty interesting thing, and a water plant. But this is a lot different because you have paid employees, and anybody who's going to help you in this situation is going to be a volunteer. And volunteers are there because they want to be. So you have to make sure that they have constructive things to do, that their work is worthwhile, and they have to have an interest. And we were very blessed in having all that. The Boilertown Museum of Historic Vehicles, this is their building. We are leasing this side of it from them, but without them, I couldn't have done this. And I don't want to start naming names because I'm going to be sitting here for the next 3 hours. But we have a historian who's a social studies teacher in town, and her education is to everything about Boilertown and Spaatz, because she's a pretty good expert on Spaatz and his family too. Without her, I couldn't have done this. So all the people around really lent their support, money. We got a few grants from the Boilertown Community Foundation, the Boyer Foundation, others that were just absolutely key to us. And without them, we couldn't have done this. And the other thing too is people shared the vision that I had on how to do this. Right. Because it's one thing to put up a museum with a bunch of artifacts, and that's great. I mean, a lot of people really enjoy that, and I think that's very educational and worthwhile. But you have to look to who your target market is, who you're trying to teach about this, who you're trying to, give or inculcate all the sacrifices and everything that went on in World War II and still are by the defense of our own nation with men and women from this country. And the target audience it can't be the older people from World War II, because they actually lived through it. I'm not going to teach them anything.
Right.
I mean, they enjoy when I can get. Right, and of course,
we're starting to lose them.
I
mean, we're down to the last few.
That's right. And the Korean War group is next. But that isn't the target audience. The target audience is really any kid from about 10 to 40. Mm-hmm. Because I saw.
I like that, kids 10 to 40.
I like that too. That almost makes me a kid.
Yeah, almost.
Right, it still makes me an old guy. But I knew that they're the segment of the population that really isn't taught this type of thing anymore. And if they get taught in school about even World War II, they're probably going to hear Pearl Harbor,
a few
Germany,
key points,
Hiroshima, Nagasaki.
Right.
America Bat. And that's going to be it. And it's not that way. And I really wanted to be able to present a better education. And that's what this really is more than anything else. It's an educational institution. And we use a different way of teaching them than the standard museum with the mannequins and lots of reading material. And I knew I had to do that from the beginning when I first came up with the concept. And that's when I understood that we're going to have to be a living history, if nothing else. But secondly, we're going to have to develop an interactive aspect of the museum that is going to be very attractive to young people. And I think we accomplished that.
Yeah, I think so. From the tour I took earlier. Yeah, and as you were telling me earlier, you said, you wanted to make it more visual.
Right.
Right. And I mean, you can see, just the audience can see right here. I mean, you have a lot to look at, not a ton to read,
right?
But a lot to look at, and
because
enough to learn about it, enough to read to learn about it.
Exactly. People learn more visually, a combination of visual and doing things physically because of the motor coordination and synchronization between what you see and what you touch and feel and how you do it. It's imprinted through the neurons of your synapses in almost like a track method. Mm-hmm. And so that's why you learn better through practical application than just a lecture. So if you can stimulate as many senses as possible, that's going to increase the learning retention of the individual who's experiencing whatever you're trying to teach them.
Yeah, kinesthetic learning.
Exactly.
Yeah. So explain to people the room that we're in and what this room portrays. I as soon as I walked in, I knew what it was, but of course, I'm a history buff. I'm a war buff.
Sure.
When I was a kid, I watched every war movie that came on Sunday or Saturday afternoons, right? I was right there front and center.
Sure.
So explain to people what you're trying to recreate in this room in particular.
As part of our interactive tour, when people come into this room, they're coming into the mission brief room. And behind you gentlemen is a map that will have a black curtain over it and lights. And so the first phase of the interactive is actually getting a mission brief. So the flight crew, between 4 and 9 people, they come in, they sit down in the nice wooden chairs. We have the vintage lighting, as you can see. The walls look like the interior of a Quonset hut, which definitely, Matt, that's what you're alluding to, and that's the feeling we're trying to get. And so we sit them down. The curtain is closed, and the person who's bringing them into the mission brief knocks on that door over there and says, "Okay, Colonel, we're ready for you." Open the door, and out comes a role player in Army Air Corps uniform, just like the guy who's bringing them in here. And they'll actually get a no-kidding 12 to 15-minute brief on an actual mission that took place on July 18th, 1944.
Nice.
And we run it right like the military.
I'm getting goosebumps, dude. I want to come in and do that.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
But we do it just like, I was in the Marine Corps for 30 years, so I got a pretty good idea what the structure and format of these mission briefs are.
Right, sure.
And we just run down right through the numbers. Now, the audience can't just sit there, okay? And that's what we do to really enhance the interactive experience, because you have a passive interactive where if you just sat in a chair and listened to a brief, that's passive. But we make them get involved. We ask them questions. We quiz them on things they learned. And we do a couple of other things to really get them involved so they take part in the exhibit. So it's a fully interactive learning. They become a part of history.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. Right down to the schedule of events where we talk about 0700 man aircraft, 0710 start engine, 0720 taxi, 0725 first flight element takeoff. Then once we complete that brief, then we turn them around and say, "Okay, mission brief's over. We can do a timeout." So we're really getting them into it. So now they got to turn around and they have to put on these reproductions of the gear and equipment that they would have worn up in a B-17 or 24.
So people who are coming in, they're getting immersed in this briefing, a real Army Air Corps briefing.
Absolutely.
They're listening to the mission. They're getting the details. They're learning what their role in the operation is going to be.
Right.
And then they're getting into the flight suit.
That's correct. They actually don't put on a flight suit, but they put on the flight equipment. They have to put on the life preserver. They put on parachute harness and with the man pad on it, and also the flak vest plus a helmet. And these are actually almost 100% correct reproductions of that mannequin there who has everything off that you can't see. He's a little bit off camera. But we found a company in California that actually fabricates these using the exact same or type of fabrics, the printing, the buckles, even the sewing patterns on the parachute harnesses are correct. We found because we found the blueprints of them, and they found 8 Singer sewing machines in Southern California that actually were used to sew those parachute
Oh my
harnesses
gee.
together.
Oh
So
my
everything was
God.
correct, even to the
Equipment
fabrication.
that's
Wow.
used. That's unbelievable.
Absolutely. So they put on all this, and we line them up here by the numbers, and they don't have a choice. They got to put this stuff on.
Yeah.
And first goes, the vest, and then the parachute harness, and then the flag paper. And now that they feel nice and weighed down, then we put the helmet on them. Okay. And the lesson here is, okay, imagine yourself at 25,000 feet, right? It's 25 degrees below zero outside the aircraft. It may be a little bit warmer, might be 23 degrees below zero inside the aircraft. And oh, by the way, you got a flight. You got to fly, you got to do your job, and you got to fight your way in and out of the target area wearing all this other stuff.
All this stuff.
I never even thought about that.
Yeah, or you're going to die. Yep.
Yeah, or you're going to die.
Yeah.
And if you get shot down, you're going to have to survive behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's why that's part of the other learning experience too, because we have safe house. So the scenario is you get your mission brief, you do that, then you come here, you put on your gear and equipment. That's a really nice photo opportunity too, because everybody's getting in front of the map brief with the pointer, and that is pretty cool. And then from here they go into a B-17 flight experience, which is a very compelling 12-minute video. And then from there they go into the safe house.
Okay.
And in the scenario, they've been shot down. They land safely into occupied France. They're picked up by the French resistance.
Mhm.
And oh, by the way, they better remember the briefing, because what they learn in briefing is going to get them into that room.
Gotcha.
So they get in. Now the French resistance has brought them into the safe house. And that stands on its own as part of the regular exhibit. But it also stands as the first of our 2 escape rooms.
Okay.
Because when they get into that French farmhouse,
Gotcha.
that's what it looks like.
Gotcha.
They have 20 minutes to find 4 things.
To help them escape.
And evade from the Germans.
Nice, dude.
Right. They even, there's the mannequin
I
back
like it,
here.
Dude.
The scarf that you see up
Yeah.
there. That's an escape and evasion scarf.
Yeah.
And that one was an original from World War II that they issued to the men on the aircraft in case they got shot down. Then they at least have a map that they could try.
Oh, wow.
and
Right.
find
Can you
a way
move
out.
the
That's
mic
good
a
thinking.
little bit closer to you? Yeah, you're good. You're getting excited. I am too. Like I'm ramped up, man. I'm ready for a mission. I better get back in shape. So this is cool stuff. And where did the concepts for this come from? Is this something that you saw other museums or other historical sites doing,
Yeah.
and then you adapted it to the story here?
Correct. Some things I borrowed.
Yeah.
Or at least the
Well, sure.
from
Yeah,
other
yeah.
museums. You have the National Museum of the Marine Corps down at Quantico.
Mhm.
And they have a couple of exhibits where you pretend like you're going through boot camp, and then you can put on a flak vest and you can put on a helmet and pick up
Yeah.
a rifle. And of course, it's all tethered to the floor or something like that.
Right.
And so I remembered that, thinking, okay, well, that's an interesting way of doing things. Maybe I can adapt that here. And I did. And I took that to some other aspects within here. But the escape rooms, I just took the idea, because obviously it wasn't my idea to come up with the whole escape room concept.
No.
But I saw the others, and I thought, that's a good way of keeping people entertained, and they can learn a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the same time.
No, it's
So,
that
the
is
escape rooms
genius.
were
I
pretty
think
fun.
so.
It's genius concept, because and listen, I was never in the military, but I was a law enforcement officer for 15 years, and what you're describing here, it's the same way we trained in law enforcement.
Sure. Right.
When I went to the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center in Georgia, we had these role players that would come in, and we would set up different scenarios, and we would work our way through them based on what we were learning in class and in the gym and on the firearms range. We'd go and they'd set up these training scenarios for us, and you'd work through it. And you had to remember what you're taught in class.
Right there.
You had to remember what you were briefed on before the training started. And you went through the whole process. They were trying to make it as real as possible, so that when you got out on the street or went to your duty station, you would know what to do. The military evolves under the same. I mean,
Yes,
police,
absolutely.
law enforcement adapted those things from the military who innovated them.
Right.
This is real stuff that people are getting to do here.
Yeah, it's real. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
With especially the young kids, they really like putting on the gear.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's really neat, because if I can have a girl or a boy 9, 10, 11 years old put this stuff on, I guarantee you they're going to remember it throughout their
Oh
life.
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's going to make an impression.
Right. So when you have a 10-year-old girl goes through this, and then when she's has married and has kids, when her kids are of the age of 10, 11, like she was, I'm hoping that she's going to explain the same thing. Oh yeah, I learned about this. This was at a museum when I was a kid, when I was your age.
Right.
Hopefully we'd still be here and they could bring their kids here.
Yeah.
But that's the way that you train or at least teach your children about these types of things.
Yeah.
Through your own experience.
Yeah.
It's
So
profound.
that's what I'm trying to do.
It sticks too. I mean, I still remember, it's been 15 years and I still remember the stuff that we did in those hands-on training sessions.
Absolutely.
It's stuck with you. It builds that muscle memory that you need in order to get through it. Because these are life and death situations.
Exactly.
If you're not acting on your training, on that memory, that muscle memory that's been built up, people freeze or they flee, they run if they're not trained to stay in the fight.
Yeah,
this is real deal stuff, folks. Greg U. Savage is saying, great job, Colonel Seawell. I am definitely going to have to come and visit soon. I'm saying the same thing. So let's get into your hours of operation. Give some people some ideas about when they can come and enjoy this great museum and get involved in this experience.
Certainly. We're open Thursday through Sunday, 10 to 4, all of those days. And again, we have, now, as I was explaining earlier, we have 3 tours that we can offer.
Yeah.
The third one's pretty interesting in its own right. So people can come in or go on the web page and they can purchase a general admission ticket, and that's $10.50. And with the general admission ticket that you can buy at the door as well, we actually have a couple different ways that they can tour the museum. They can do a self-guided tour using our audio kiosk.
I saw that. You have the QR codes.
And that's really well done. I mean, the narrative that's done is very, very good, and they'll learn a lot using that. They can also
Where did you get the narrative? Who did the narrative?
Myself, Charles Haddad, and Margaret Harner, who's on our board of directors.
Charles Haddad would have a great voice for that.
Yeah,
His voice is all perfect. Yeah.
And Margaret's is very good too. And then also Zach Reiner. I don't know if you know who he is. He was born and raised here in Boilertown, and he runs his own business in Las Vegas, Nevada. But we got connected back up with him, and he's got a great voice for this stuff. He did really help us out a lot.
These QR codes and these virtual tours that you can do are great too. Over the summertime, I went down to the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and I did the Harriet Tubman tour. And they have very similar thing. You download the program, and it's on your phone, and it takes you through with different songs and people talking to you, explaining to you where you're at. It's a great concept.
It really worked out for us very well, thanks to all the support and people who did the voiceovers for us. So we have, again, that tour, and then people can just wander around on their own, or we have a guide that can show them around too, if they want.
And that's all the options for the
$10.50.
Yeah.
And then we have the flight crew, or the B-17 experience, as we call it, the flight crew. And what they do is it's $26, and then that gives them all the inner aspects. This exhibit, the mission brief, the gear up gallery, the B-17 flight experience, the 2 escape rooms, the chapel, and also full realm of the entire museum to walk around. The interactive experience itself is about 100 minutes. And that's been becoming very popular, and we see a lot of people come through that. The third option that we've now just started offering is just the escape rooms, because the young people just liked it so much and had so much fun. It's only 20 minutes per room, so think about a 10-minute brief to get them all ready for it. So it's a great thing to have in just an hour. And we've had a lot of fun advertising for that, and we've had some people come through that.
And what's the price on that one?
That was 26 as well. Right.
100 minutes is a little bit short of a feature-length film.
Correct.
And at 100 minutes, you're getting to actually be in the movie.
Yeah, you're just watching it.
Yeah, instead of watching it, you're part of it.
And that's the way I've tried to explain it too.
Man, that would have, when I was a kid, a teenager, back in my day, watching all these war movies and stuff that I did, man, that would have turned.
Had that option.
Oh my God, that would have turned me on. I'd have probably lived here. I'd have moved in. I'd have moved in.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because when I was a kid, the big thing, they didn't have stuff like this, and Disney World still wasn't even around when I was going through young age, 10, 11, 12. But what we did is we built model airplanes, because my dad was in the Army Air Force, and the other kids, their fathers were in one of the military. So we got into building P-51s, B-17s, and all that other type of stuff. We'd hang them in our rooms, but when they fall apart a little bit or they fell off the string, we take them out to the clothesline, hang them up out there,
and fly them.
No, shoot BB guns.
And
then we
blow them up with firecrackers.
Well, you got to pour the lighter fluid on.
Of course.
Now, don't do that out there, kids.
Yeah.
Don't try this at home, because you do that now, your parents are going to go to jail and you're going to get picked up by social services or something. That kind of like out of the box thinking, though, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped me.
Yeah.
Did you ever fly? I used to fly model rockets. We used to build the model rockets and shoot them, the Estes rockets and shoot them up into space. Yeah.
No, I never got a chance to do that.
Yeah. When I was a kid, we used to.
You mean just
launch
regular rockets, or?
No, it's a little model rocket.
Yeah.
You put it together.
Yeah,
It's
with
from a
the
company
low
called
end.
Estes with
Right.
with the little engine.
Yeah.
And you shoot it up into space, man.
Yeah.
Some of those things go up like a few thousand feet.
So not a normal model rocket. This is a specific model rocket.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's called Estes.
Okay.
Estes model rockets.
Okay.
Dude, your son would love it.
Well, he has model rockets
he?
that he shoots.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the engines.
With the engines.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm
can choose
talking
the size of the engine and everything.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, bro.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's good. You didn't have that? When you were a kid?
No, I don't think we had those developed.
Oh.
We may have. I mean, even RC aircraft were just starting to come into play in the 60s.
Right.
I remember I'm a little bit older than you, so
Yeah.
that was my oldest brother does a lot of RC modeling and flying, which is a lot of fun too. That's pretty neat.
This is spectacular. Everybody, if you're watching or when you're watching this, the spatzmuseum.org is the website, so you can find this. I found all the information about the museum relatively easy this afternoon. I just went onto Google and I typed in Carl Spaatz. That's literally all I had to put into my search engine,
Yeah, it
and
comes right
this
up.
stuff came right up.
Mhm.
Website, Facebook page, all of that stuff.
Yeah, our SOE is doing pretty good now.
I'm learning a lot, man. And this is a great thing to have. When I was growing up, I grew up in Pottstown, right? So I'm from this area, and people don't give Western Montgomery County and Eastern Berks a lot of credit for being on the cutting edge of
Right.
anything.
Mhm.
But this museum that you're running here really is some cutting edge type
It
stuff.
is.
This is,
Yeah.
like you're saying, this is something that you could experience at Disney World.
Right.
And it's right here in your backyard in Boilertown. It's local. People that live in the borough of Boilertown could walk down here. You don't
That's
have to get in your car.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely, that's true.
So this is a great experience. And for the price of what you're going to pay to go see a first run movie, by the time you throw in a drink and some popcorn and
Yeah,
stuff,
you're right there. Yeah,
you can
yeah.
come here, learn about local history, learn about American history, world history, really. We're talking about World War II,
Yeah.
World War,
Mhm.
and get yourself immersed in it. Make your own movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's
And
super.
the escape rooms are commensurate with the cost of other escape rooms in the area.
Right.
So
And you're getting
the
you're getting the bonus. And you're getting the bonus of
really
this-
learning about history.
correct. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
And the rest of the museum as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are two other living museums in the area too. One is the Culvertdale Railroad, where you actually ride the train.
Yes.
Right.
Early 20th century.
We've
right?
had them on the show. We've
Right.
done shows with them.
Mhm.
They're doing a great job.
Yeah,
I
they do a
have
great
another podcast that I run in Pottstown, Porchcast Pottstown.
Right.
We talked to the Colebrookdale Railroad there. The Pottstown station's getting to be underway.
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be open soon.
Mhm.
So again, if you live in the Pottstown or Boilertown area, these are
Yeah, a
all
lot of
local
things to
stuff
do.
that you're going to be able to
Absolutely.
do. Eventually, one day, you're going to be able to hop on the train in Pottstown or Boilertown, vice
Yeah.
versa. Go to
Yeah.
either town, get off, enjoy all the stuff around the station,
Yeah, right.
hop on and go back to where
You
you
got a true connection.
go.
line.
Super connection line,
Yeah.
and with tons and tons of stuff to do.
And what a cool train to drive.
Right,
to
right,
ride in,
right.
you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
And with the Auto Museum across the street here, you have 3 living museums, living history museums within 3-block
Yeah.
radius.
yeah.
Not you have to be a major metropolitan city.
Oh, for
to
sure.
have something
We had
like
them on
that.
the
We
show
got
as
it right
well.
here in Boilertown,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. No, the ladies from the historical museum, the historical vehicles museum,
Right.
they do a great job.
Yeah.
And I what I really appreciate about them is that they cover things. They're bringing that woman's perspective to those historic vehicles, and they're giving you some things to think about that, I don't necessarily think
Right.
about. I don't have that perspective, right?
Right.
But they're bringing it to the museum, and every time we talk to them, I find what they have to say
So
super interesting,
So
fascinating.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Just like
it's
just
great.
like today.
Just like today,
And
yeah.
that's what we try to do too here is, we really try to show the team effort that was United States of America and small town America, especially through the war. So women, men, no matter what color, race, anything like that, everybody was working hard together as a team, despite some of the challenges we had at home during that time frame. But the point I always like to show is that we weren't victims; we were warriors, socially, culturally at the time, and victors on the battlefield.
Yeah,
and not too many other countries have ever done that.
Right.
Ever been able to do something like that.
Sure. It's an important part of not just American history, but world history, culture, sociology. There's so many of these different studies wrapped up in American history, just like you and I were talking about prior to the show. History, sociology, political science, theology, just anything you can possibly name. You can learn it by coming to one of these museums. In some way, shape, or form, it is wrapped up in the story. Carl Spaatz, I never knew he ran the newspaper, right? And think about what the role of the newspaper prior to the internet was really the voice of democracy.
Yep,
and one of the reasons why we're having some of the problems we are is because we don't have this local news coverage anymore that breaks it down to the local level and lets people find some direct relationship with what's going on. We're so polarized because we can't relate to each other on a local level. The news was doing that. Carl Spaatz was running democracy for Boilertown. It's pretty profound.
Yeah, it is.
It's good stuff.
We even have a radio here in the Pearl Harbor exhibit that's from 1936. It's in Atwater, Kent, that belonged to one of the members of our board of directors. And I brought it back to life. And that same radio played the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941 in her kitchen when she was 6 weeks old getting a bath.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
Huh. That's
history there.
Yeah.
And shortwave back then, that was the view to the world. That was the internet of the day, because you had shortwave in your radio, then you could get the broadcast from Germany, from England, from Japan, Russia, anywhere. And we had so many native speakers, that could speak and understand German, that they were getting almost unfettered news in real time.
Right.
And we think of ourselves as so sophisticated today.
Right.
They had it better because they weren't getting a spin on it. They were hearing it.
They were hearing,
at the time that it was delivered.
They were hearing the German propaganda, whatever that.
Well, sure, that's just it. They knew what was wrong with it.
Right.
The German people that were over here. Well, that's not
true. Right.
Yep, absolutely.
And, I just thought of another place that we went to that's right down the street is the Boilertown Historical Society. Even more great. Absolutely, another repository of great history.
Yeah.
It's all good stuff. One last thing until we move on to what's going down in Boilertown section, and I think this will be a good segue into that. What, if any, special events do you have coming up here at the museum?
We have a few special events coming up. In May, we have some students coming in for the first time from one of the local elementary schools, and they're going to do a round robin through here. So that's pretty big for us. The next big event that we're going to have is sometime this summer. We're going to have an exhibit that focuses on the Korean War.
Okay.
Because, we mentioned World War II quite a bit, and just a few weekends ago, we did the Vietnam War. We had a big exhibit down at the back end.
The Korean War, the forgotten war, right? It kind of gets skipped over.
So we're going to have the Korean War the end of July, probably, because that's when the armistice was signed. I think it was the end of July.
So you'll have revolving exhibits too as well?
Right, we're going to do that. So every couple months, we're going to have a revolving special exhibit.
So even if you've been here a couple of times, you come back another time and see something new.
Right, absolutely. So and we do switch things around a little bit. We've actually have some new items that weren't here when we first opened, like our Norden bomb site, which we're very proud of. Not too many small museums like this get to support one of those. But we're going to have special events like that continuously. And it's just another great education point. And, of course, there are a lot of Korean veterans still here. And eventually we're going to show, Desert Storm era, and then my era with after 9/11. So interestingly enough, I didn't hear a round shot in anger until September 11th. And then after that, we were pretty much involved every day. So that was pretty interesting for me as a career. But we're going to put things like that in here too, and really change a lot of things around.
That's some great stuff, and
Yeah.
it's making me think too. And I just want to get this plug in real quick because I know a guy from Pottstown. If I don't say something, he's going to be mad. So, Chief Warrant Officer Mike Murphy from the Veterans Island Project.
Okay.
They're currently working on reviving the Korean War Memorial on Memorial Island at Memorial Park. So if you're interested in learning more about what's going on, remembering the Korean War veterans, our forgotten war, take a little brief trip over to the Facebook page of Veterans Island Project, and Chief Murphy will be happy that I said something about that. They're looking for volunteers, they're looking for donations, and you can buy a brick and memorialize your veteran or your loved one in one of the bricks that they're going to use to revitalize that Korean War Memorial in Pottstown.
Nice. Very good.
Yep.
All right. Jeff.
Yes, sir.
So I just shot my mouth off about Pottstown. You got to tell us what is going down in Boilertown.
Well, I'll tell you. I think what's going on in the world right now on Friday. Do you know what's happening on Friday?
No, man. I've been up to my eyeballs in.
It's April 22nd. Does that tell you anything?
Earth Day.
It is Earth Day, and that is a global event that happens.
It is.
It's the largest secular global event in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, we celebrate Mother Earth, and we try to figure out ways to keep her happy and protect her, right?
Right. We've got one. We get one.
Yeah, we got one. You'll get one shot at it. It's not like you get another one once you review this one up. So I think it's a pretty important day, and it probably should be recognized every day because of what you just said. But so I highlighted Earth Day, give you a little background on it on the blog, what's going down at Boilertown. And while we're here talking about it, I'm just going to bring up a couple points, maybe quiz you a little bit, see what you might know, and you can jump in at any time.
Okay.
Yeah, Colonel, back me up, gang.
So here's a couple,
get on my 6, bro.
I would, but I'm not from here, so I'm not going to know everything about Boilertown.
This is not Boilertown.
Oh,
This
okay.
is just Earth Day related right now.
Cool. That's even worse. I don't know if I'm going to get any of these.
All right. So here's a couple did you know questions. First of all, a plastic bottle, how long do you think that takes to break down in a landfill? Without cheating.
I'm sorry. I didn't cheat. I didn't see anything. I'm going to go with 100 years.
Okay.
It's got to be a long time.
I'm going to say 500.
You were closest, 450 years.
He's got that.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
You know more than you thought.
I just guessed. You
That was a
No
good
idea.
guess. A good guess. What percentage of water on Earth is drinkable?
What percentage is
right
fresh water?
now? Sure. Fresh and drinkable.
I'm
And
going with
accessible.
10%. Because isn't 80% of
70% of the Earth
how
is
much?
water.
70?
Mm-hmm. But how much of that water?
Correct.
is
It's fresh.
Yeah.
I'm going with 10.
Okay.
I'd say about the same.
Under 1%.
Under
Wow.
1%.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
So don't go throwing your plastic bottle in there.
Right. So if you purchased a reusable bag to go shopping, that would prevent 600 plastic bags from being used. Like in its lifetime, you would prevent 600 plastic
You know what?
bags.
I
from
was
being
doing a
used.
really good job of doing that for a while,
Mhm.
and I had my old truck. I put the bags like under the one seat,
Right.
and I was doing a great job because at Redner's you get like 5 or 10 cents off too. They give you a little discount,
Right.
and I crashed that truck.
And the bags stay.
And the
with it?
bags, yeah, I just haven't put them back in my new truck.
Oh,
But
okay.
every time I go to the grocery store, I'm like, man, I gotta get those reusable bags going again.
Yeah.
I try not to get those plastic bags because I see them everywhere. Like, you're a fisherman, you and your
Yes.
son.
Yeah.
How many of those things do you see when you're out on the creek? Like you're out on the Manatawny.
Right.
It's kind of disgusting.
Yeah. And if you see a landfill, if you go to a landfill, you know how they have fencing up?
Yeah.
That fencing is covered in those plastic bags. And
Right.
you know that a bunch get over that fence.
Sure.
You know?
I try to reduce my plastic bags. So that's a good reminder. I'm going to try to get my reusable shopping bags back in my truck.
And you know what? This is off. I mean, it's not off the subject, but you know what I noticed in the area, and I don't understand this, but a lot of the landfills are right next to waterways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why would they do that?
I know. It doesn't seem to make sense, right?
Yeah.
Because the Earl dump is right next. Well, Furnace Run runs through that property,
Okay.
and then it goes down to the Manatawny.
Yeah.
And then there's that little creek that comes out of the West Pottsgrove landfill.
Mm-hmm. And the Birdsboro dump.
Yeah, right next to the K Creek and the school kiln.
Yeah. I don't understand that. Let me see what else we have.
It wasn't military planning. The colonel could have planned that better.
So shutting down a desktop computer or a laptop, if you shut it down at night, that cuts down or when you're not using it, I should say, that cuts down 85% of the energy consumption. So it's definitely worth. A lot of people, I think a lot of companies for a while were just saying, just leave the computers on all night.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not a good thing. It wastes a lot of energy. And if you walked a mile, if you walked a mile instead of driving a car, you would save 1 pound of pollution each time you did that. So
go ahead, say that again.
If you walked a mile instead of driving a mile in a car, you save 1 pound of pollution.
1 pound of carbon or whatever they're. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That's a few did you know questions. I also have some ideas for how to celebrate, what to do something for Earth Day. So that's on my blog, but most importantly, the blog is an event blog. So there's a ton of stuff happening in Boilertown. Last weekend, the weekend before with Easter and everything, I mean, there was well over 150 events happening in and around Boilertown. So as we mentioned a lot on here, if you are from the area and you say you don't have anything to do, you're wrong. You do. I mean, you got a beautiful museum right here,
right? Amongst other things,
amongst many other things. So,
and I will say this again, and a lot of that stuff is free.
Yeah.
We just had the Coming Out of Hibernation, a whole day worth of street festival.
Yeah.
You did not have to spend a single dime if you didn't want to.
And you could have fun. There's magicians there. There's all
kinds of stuff. There was some organization giving away free water. You didn't even have to pay to get a drink if you didn't want to.
Right.
And there was booze, like the Glocker booth. We were giving prizes away.
Mm-hmm.
No registration. Water bottles, koozies, keychains. Nice. I had a raffle for a $50 gift certificate to Redner's.
Sweet.
So free.
Yeah.
And if you played your cards right, you might have walked away with a bunch of stuff.
Well, we did the last event, which was what was it? What was the last event?
Coming Out of Hibernation.
No.
The winter one. What's the fall?
The fall one. Yeah.
I didn't go to that. I was away on a hunting trip. You and Robin did that.
You're right. But I mean, everybody was walking around with bags of free
stuff. Right.
So, definitely always stuff to do from every price range to zero. But so there's a ton of events happening this week. But I'm just going to name a few here that are happening close to town. And I'm trying to still stick with the Earth Day thing. So, Cosmic Art Studio, which is a really interesting.
It is super interesting place.
Yeah, have you ever been to it?
Yeah, I was inside of there right after they first opened, and they're doing all different types of art. So basically, what it is, it's an art studio. They have artists in there producing work, doing different things, just about anything you can imagine. But they also have activities. They have poetry readings. They have bands coming in there to play.
Lots of. They throw parties.
In there. It just about anything you want to do.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty crazy place. It looks like
it's very interesting.
When I was younger, I would have loved it.
Good thing the Colonel's retired, because if he wants to go there, he'll be able to fully partake. Cool. It's really super interesting.
Yeah,
definitely on
just the art side of it.
Definitely on the artistic side of it. So, but it's super. They're doing a lot of stuff. I got to give them credit too. They've really thrown themselves into participating with the community.
Yeah.
They've been organizing they're having a cleanup.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So Cosmic Art Studio in Pottstown, 4:00 on Earth Day, Friday, 4/22. They're doing a Earth Day trash pickup, which they're just going to clean up around Pottstown.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, there's a bunch of bands playing and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're having a party afterwards.
Yeah.
So you participate in the trash day, in the trash pickup, and then go back to their art studio for a concert.
Yeah, it sounds good to me.
Yeah.
You do something good, and then you have fun.
Have fun, right? Yeah.
This is not an Earth Day event, but it is an opening reception at Studio B Art Gallery. I always like to mention their opening receptions. Has the opening.
Snap out of it.
Yeah. The reception is named Reflections. That's just the name of it. And that is this Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. Earth Day Wine Walk, which is not Earth Day related except for that it's happening on Earth Day. Right. It's in the name, but it's a wine walk where you get to go to different businesses in Boilertown and partake in some wine tasting.
Yeah, we're going to be part of that as well.
Are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
good.
Yeah, the wine walks are great. They're a lot of fun, and we bring people into the front lobby area and give them a little shot down the both hallways that they can see.
Okay.
And it's real. I really like the way people talk about it. They get very excited about it and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to support the community.
Yeah.
What kind of wine are you having?
We'll have red and whites. We're going to have probably a Merlot. I'm a Merlot drinker. So is my wife. From our days we were in France.
Okay.
I spent 2 years in France.
Sweet.
Excellent.
Is your wife's name Wendy?
Yes, it is.
All right. She's on the show. She's commenting.
Okay.
I put up into the comments section, she was asking for some links to Veterans Island Project for the bricks.
Okay.
I gave her the link to their Facebook page. I went on their Facebook page and there's a phone number, which I also copied into the comments so that you can make contact with the folks over at Veterans Island Project.
Great. As a quick aside, I know Mike Murphy, and he was very instrumental in helping us. He and his compatriot, Colonel Tom McCabe, who is unfortunately deceased, he was a career Marine as well, but they had a small museum over at the Armory down in Spring City. Right, and I got to know Colonel McCabe and Mike, and they really helped us out. And
Mike is one gung-ho individual.
Yes, he is. He's good, as we say in Marine, he was a good soldier.
Yeah.
Which is the highest compliment you can give anybody. You say, "Oh yeah, he was a Marine." Well, what kind of Marine was he? Well, he's a good Marine. Okay, now that means
yeah.
Yep, did a good job.
Cool. So that wine walk is happening this Friday. That takes place 5:30 to 8:30. 10 businesses. That means 10 tastings. $15 is the cost, which is not very much at all.
No.
And I'm sure a lot of the businesses have other things there as well that they're giving away.
I did the wine walk one time with Build a Better Boilertown.
Did you?
Yeah, it was good, and there was a lot of people, and a lot of people came into the office. I got to talk to a lot of different people. A lot of locals, but also people from outside of Boilertown coming in to see what was going on too. Yeah, it's fun.
They come from all around the area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this one is being run by the Berksmont Business Association.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, opening night of Fantastic Beasts: The Secret of Dumbledore. Do you even know what that is?
That sounds like a Harry Potter movie.
It is a Harry Potter movie. Yeah, I guess it's in the next series in Harry Potter.
Aren't they adults now? Like, aren't they like in college, getting ready to go to grad school?
I don't even think they're in it. I think it's actually
a new round.
Is that the right word?
It's a prequel.
It's a prequel. Yeah. That's my understanding, at least. So that's happening at the State Theater. That starts Friday night. Is their opening night for that. Saturday, Chuck's Auto Salvage on 562. They do their annual Earth Day event.
Crash Up Derby.
No. But you can actually bring tires to them.
Oh,
and they'll take them for free. You know, a lot of times it's really hard to get rid of tires.
It is.
That's the place to go. Earth Day, it's actually the 23rd. It's this Saturday. They'll take up to 4 tires per person. They'll take your old oil, your old antifreeze, and they'll also take your old batteries.
All right, Boilertown people, no need to burn that tire in your
Yeah.
backyard.
And
Take it
when
over
they-
to Chuck's.
And when they do take your auto batteries, they're going to donate $20 to charity.
Oh, great.
So
Help the earth and help a charity.
yeah.
Give that one out again, because that's a serious. Listen, I'm
Yeah.
being a little bit stereotypical.
Okay.
I go into a lot of houses.
Uh-huh.
It's part of our job
And there's tires in them?
all the time.
Oh, man.
All the time. I don't know why I was just in one yesterday. There was 6 tires stacked
In the
up in the
house?
garage in Pottstown.
Oh, in the garage.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
I see it all around
Mhm.
this area.
Yeah.
Western Montgomery County, Eastern Berks. I don't know what it is about us. We like to
We
save
like
stuff.
tires. Yeah.
Yeah. Not just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Get rid of them things, man.
My-
Chucks. So
my-
give that one again. 'cause
My
I think that's
brother,
super-
my oldest brother, Ron.
Yeah, Ron.
He's
How many does he have?
he only has he could have a bunch, but I remember growing up, he's had a tire that he got. I don't even know how he got it, but it's from a raceway. So it was a big
Yeah, like a
slick
racing
Right.
flag.
racing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had that for I know he still has it today. I don't know what he's
What I'm
ever going to
saying.
do with
What are you
it.
gonna
Make
do?
a coffee table out of it.
Maybe.
So give that one for Chucks
Okay,
again. I
Chuck's
think
Auto
that's
Salvage.
very locally poignant.
Yeah. Chuck's Auto Salvage Earth Day event is happening this Saturday in Douglasville on 562 from 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Get your tires over there. That's what Matt's telling you.
Right. Get rid of that old battery and get $20 donated to your charity.
Yeah,
Come
absolutely. Old House Arboretum, which we which we have talked about and we interviewed.
We did interview
Yeah.
them.
They're having Beekeeping 101, which is another way to help Mother Earth, because the bees help the flowers, blah 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 blah.
There's no fruit
Yeah.
and no food
If
if
you
the
have
bees
no
don't
bees-
pollinate it.
If we have no bees, we're in trouble.
Big time.
So they're having a beekeeping event where they have Aaron Durr of Hinterhoff Farm coming in to teach how to, like, an introductory course of how to beekeep.
Yeah.
So if nothing else, I'm sure it'll be
Yeah,
interesting.
That
Yeah.
is pretty neat.
My girlfriend and I go walking over there at the Old House Arboretum.
Mhm.
They have miles of walking trails. It's free. You just walk onto the property. A lot of native Pennsylvania plants and trees are identified on the walking tour.
Okay.
So you go, you get a little bit of exercise, you learn
Learn a
about the
little something.
native flora, and you see some fauna. It's a great place. And
Yeah.
again, this is another free thing to do
Absolutely,
in our area.
yeah.
Old House Arboretum. Get outside, get some fresh air, or go take a beekeeping class.
So the beekeeping class it does cost something. It's $20 unless you're a member. Then it's $10. But it's from 9 to 11, and you're guaranteed you're going to learn something. And if you're interested in beekeeping and you just haven't taken that step, this is for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've thrown a few bucks in their donation box when I go over
Mhm.
there, just because it is such a great place. And the trails are very well marked and very well maintained.
Yeah. And then we're going to end this with the Colebrookdale Railroad, which we spoke about earlier.
Mhm.
They're doing their Mudball Express. Did you ever hear this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Nathan Lapp, who
Yeah.
unfortunately no longer works for them.
Really?
Yeah. We lost our contact there.
Really?
He told us about it when we interviewed him.
Yeah.
But go ahead, break
Okay,
it
I'll
off.
have to talk to more about that.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. We're gonna have to get another contact there though.
Okay. They're doing their Mudball Express. It's the passengers will be given, if they want, and encouraged to throw mud balls out of the train as they're
Yeah.
going down.
Yeah.
And these mud balls have wildflower seeds in it,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
and indigenous ones. Like
Correct. Yeah, they're trying to
correct
do
ones,
local
yeah.
ones, not some invasive species.
Exactly.
Hopefully.
So I mean, how much fun is that?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
doing it good for Earth, and then at the same time, you're having fun throwing mud.
It
Yeah.
might be the only time they allow you to throw something off of the train.
Yeah. Especially mud.
The colonel might be into that. He was shooting up stuff in his backyard with
Yeah,
BBs.
That's right.
I've done
He needs
fun
more
on that train. That is pretty fun.
More
Is it-
explosive.
is it?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of fun.
You did it before?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just throwing those mud balls out there as hard as I possibly can.
Nice. So that's just a few of the probably at least 100
Hundreds.
things that are happening this week
Right.
in Boilertown. So the website is jeffknowsboilertown.com, and the event blog is called What's Going Down in Boilertown. Very simple.
Great.
And if people sign up for that event blog, you're going to really spam them and hit them hard with all kinds of sales
They will
material.
never hear from me ever.
Really?
Nope. They will only get the event once a week.
And then if you like what Jeff's doing for you, keeping up to date with events when you're ready for some real estate services, hit him up.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Providing a good community service.
Yeah, that's right. Okay.
You are kind of taking the role of the former local newspaper, right? The
I am.
local newspapers used to have the event section and everything else.
That's right.
Those are getting farther and few between.
Right.
And now you've picked up the ball.
Yeah.
You've taken a lesson from your local mentor, Carl Spaatz.
That's right. That's right. I couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, it's about 7:06. We're going a little bit over time, but it's been well worth it. We've learned a lot about the General Spaatz Museum. I learned some stuff about my backyard that I never knew before.
Yeah.
So that's always a good outing when you can learn something new, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The Colonel has been one of our better public speakers, I would say.
Yeah.
On point.
Yeah.
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 Hoorah.
Hoorah. Very good. I'm impressed. Hoorah. Number 5.
Number 5. We've been joined today by Keith Seawell, Colonel, USMC retired. What is your title over here? Director,
CEO,
Field Marshal? What is it?
CEO.
CEO.
Yeah.
CEO and founder of the General Carl Spaatz National USAAF Museum, United States Army Air Force.
Yep. Very good.
There you go. You can find them by going to spatzmuseum.org. Super easy to find.
And I just want to shout out the location. They're basically right across from the Circle K off of Reading Avenue, right next to
Friendship Firehouse.
Ladder Firehouse. Yeah. So easy to find.
Easy to find.
Yeah.
I had no problems finding it. Plenty of parking around the area.
Parking, yeah.
And if you live in the borough of Boilertown,
you don't just walk.
Walk on down.
That's right. Very good.
It's been a fun show.
Has been.
Super well worth it. I'm definitely coming back. I have 3 sons. My oldest son is super into American history. My middle son is a mechanic, all into engines. He's going to get into this kind of stuff. My youngest son's all into history and political science. I don't know where they got that from.
Yeah,
but
where?
I'm gonna bring the boys over here. We're gonna have a good time, man. We're doing it.
Let me know when you're coming over. I'll bring my
bring your
They would all love to see it.
Let's do it up. Your wife's a teacher.
I can't wait to see my daughter in one of these outfits here.
Yeah.
Uniforms.
Everybody
I should say
loves
outfit.
it. Yeah.
Jeff, give us your outro, and then I'm gonna do mine.
Look for me at Jeff at Glocker. That's all I have to put in Google Jeff at Glocker, and that brings up all my social media. You're interested in buying or selling a house, contact me or Matt.
There you go.
Yeah.
My name's Matt Green, Glocker Realty. You can search me real easy, Matt Green at Glocker Realty. All my stuff's going to come up. I'm also the host of Porchcast Pottstown, which is a show that highlights all the great things that are going on in Pottstown and the surrounding area. That's going to be tomorrow night, Thursday night. We're talking to Representative Joe Cerisi from the 146th District. The lines have been redrawn after the fair districting lawsuit, and now all of the borough of Pottstown is covered by Joe Cerisi and the 146th District. Does a lot of work to support veterans causes. And in that regard, we're going to have Chief Murphy on talking about Veterans Island Project and all the stuff. So tune into Porchcast Pottstown tomorrow for Joe Cerisi and Chief Mike Murphy. 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
Facebook and YouTube, Porchcast Pottstown.
Colonel, do you have anything out for an outro?
No, thank you all for coming. Reminder that not only do we have a great website, but we have a pretty good Facebook page there, so people can go onto our Facebook page and see what we're doing almost on a daily basis, plus our hours and things like that. And I can't say anything more than thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to spread the good news.
Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Check out the museum.
That's great. We've had a great show. Thanks for having us. I'm going to tune out and get turned on to the General Spaatz Museum. Thanks for tuning into the Cast at Glocker. We are on a lot of Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. We are getting ready to gear up for some summer breaks.
We are.
You have some vacationing to do.
Yeah.
I have some trout fishing to do. But keep your eye out on Glocker Realty Insurance Facebook page. We will be announcing our next shows very shortly.
Yes.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody.